Welcome to our Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised, 12th edition. Today we're going to be talking about patterns of formality and a call to order. My name is DakotaJKeeler, and let's get into this. So the customs of formality that are followed is to allow the chair to remain impartial and to preserve an objective and impersonal approach. This is especially important during highly heated debates. The idea is we don't want members to be attacking the chair, we don't want members to be attacking each other, and so we want to keep a degree of formality. So you always address the chair, even when you're talking to another member. You first say, Mr. Chair, or Madam Chair, and then you speak to that member through the chair. And this brings us to the next point. So when you address the officer, it's Mr. President or Madam President, regardless of if the woman is married or not. Now, if the officer has a title such as moderator, secretary, treasurer, you would use that instead. However, if it's a temporary title, you're presiding over a convention, or you don't have a title, then you're to be called the chair or Mr. or Madam Chairman, and then a lot of societies just use chair or chairperson. As you notice, I use the chair a lot instead of chairman or chairperson. Now, the chair is never addressed by their name in the normal course of business. The only exceptions are small committees where formality is lax. Like in a lot of small committees, you don't need to do a second, even though some do. Or a testimonial nature. So where you have a member giving a testimony, and it might include your chair, who might be Mary, and so you might say their name in that testimony. But that's about it. The chair is also never addressed by the personal pronoun you. The only exception is when a brief administrative consultation takes place. It is better to refer to the presiding officer as the chair, as in, Mr. President, do you understand the chair to state? And then, as I was saying earlier, members only address the chair or other members through the chair. For example, Mr. President, may I ask the member to explain? Whenever possible, you want to do this. These formalities are in place to allow the smooth running of the body and to allow when heated debate happens that you're able to remain somewhat calm in the proceedings, but heated in the debate itself. Now, there's an exception to that with members of a committee or small board. You never speak while seated, unless you're unable to stand. So if you're handicapped or in a wheelchair or with crutches, if you cannot stand, we will not require you to stand. And then there's an exception for speaking without obtaining the floor, such as a point of order. There's a few more, and you can find those in 330 through 35. Then we move on to the presiding officer. You never use the personal pronoun I. So if I'm the president, I never say, I did this. You always refer to yourself in the third person as the chair. Or while giving a report, you can say you're president. So this means, let's say we're giving a vote and it's a tie. And me being a member of the body, I have a right to vote. I would announce, the chair votes in the affirmative to break the tie. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Now, it is prudent for a chair not to vote unless it is a tiebreaker. Because if it's not a tiebreaker, your vote doesn't actually matter, and you want to preserve impartiality. So, while you can vote and have a right to vote as a member, you want to do it with a little canny and tact to it. And whenever you do vote, you want to announce that you voted on the side that you voted on. The chair does not mention other members' names and does not address a member by you, unless we're doing disciplinary action, which we can learn more about in section 6112. However, in ordinary societies, there are, as you can imagine, a few exceptions. So when a chair addresses a member by name, it is usually to assign the floor. So you can say, the delegate from Ohio has the floor. Or you can say, in an ordinary society, DakotaJKeeler has the floor. And then if you're listing out the members of a committee, so we have the media committee is composed of Dakota, Mary, John, Sally, and it's chaired by Billy. Those are the two real exceptions. And then there's more formality than that, and we'll get into that in section 42 and 43. But in general, this basic formality, if you got this down, you should be alright to go just by applying some common sense. Then we get to the call of order and the order of business. So when it's time for a meeting to begin, the presiding officer will take the chair. And then in doing so, they will announce the meeting has come to order. And then you will wait or signal for silence among the members. If a quorum is not present, you'll follow section 40. That will be things like you can adjourn, set the time at which to adjourn. You can do things to try to obtain a quorum, but ultimately, without a quorum, any action taken by the body is null and void. Now, after you're called to order, if your body has an opening ceremony, the ceremony could be the national anthem, it could be a prayer, etc. That is when you will do it, after the call. Now, for a mass meeting or one to organize a society, you'll want to look to section 53 and 54. Now, in an organized society, we normally follow an order of business, and that order of business lists out the order in which certain classes of motions are to be made and introduced. Now, if you don't have an order of business, any motion may be brought that is pertinent to the intent of the society. So if we're a snowmobile society and we bring a motion to have an art show, that motion isn't allowable because it doesn't pertain to the society, the object of it. Unless the art show is, let's say, a snowmobile art show. But you get the idea. You can only bring motions that conform with the object of the society, as stated in their bylaws. Now, a society may adopt an order of business that normally the order of business that is adopted is the order that's listed out in their parliamentary authority, but unless they adopt a parliamentary authority which has an order of business, or they adopt their own order of business, a society has no order of business. But your common order of business is you read an approval of the minutes. So we might say the meeting is now called to order, and a member will motion, I move that we read and approve the minutes. Second, and then the chair or the secretary, based on how the society operates, will read the minutes. And then you'll get a motion to approve the minutes, and it'll be seconded and you'd vote on it. Then you would get reports of officers, boards, and standing committees. These are things that are permanent in the society. So you might have an outreach committee, and that outreach committee is permanent. It always exists. As opposed to the third order of business, which is special or ad hoc committees. These are committees that are created on the fly to do a particular task, and when they accomplish their task, they're straight up abolished. They're no longer required. And then special orders. These are matters that have been previously assigned a special priority. You can learn more in section 14 and 41. And then unfinished business. These are matters that come from a previous meeting or have been scheduled for this meeting. So let's say you have a motion to hold a snowmobile show, and that's pending on the floor, we're debating it, but someone moves to adjourn, it's seconded, it's voted in favor. That snowmobile motion to have that show is carried over as unfinished business, and it's picked up in section 5. And then During this time, you could lay from the table or take from the table, and etc. And then our last order of business is new business. So this would be things brought up at this meeting. Now, where there is an established order, the presiding officer will call out the different classes of business in that prescribed order. So if we go back up, the officer might say, we're on the order of business to read and approve the minutes. And once that's done, you'll say, we are now to call forth officer reports and standing committees. And when that's done, he will say, or she will say, reports of special committees. Or we're now on the reports of special committees. And so this lets all the members know when it's appropriate to do what. Now, unless your mass meeting is one in a series, there will be nothing but new business to follow up, and so they don't generally have a order of business, because you don't have minutes, you don't have boards, you don't have special or ad hoc committees, you didn't have anything that you could assign a special priority to, you don't have unfinished business, and so it doesn't make sense to have an order of business in those meetings. Now, a convention usually adopts its own order of business. These are called programs or agendas, and they normally specify the exact time that things are to be brought up. So the reading and approval of the minutes, the reports of different committees, maybe at 10 o'clock we vote for who's going to be our state Supreme Court nominee, etc. And then a legislative body has its own, usually more complex order of business that's designed to suit its own needs. And if you want to learn more about that, Mason's Rules of Legislative Procedure is a really good source for that. But that's beyond the scope of our topic today. Thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have a good day.